So in this part of lecture about the renal system, we are going to look at the mechanisms of resorption of the large amount of filtrate from glomerulus and look at the different parts of permeability of nephron. So the question that we are facing is that if we are filtering about 140 liters of plasma per day in kidney and urinate about 1 to 2 liters, what happens with approximately 99% of that filtrate? And what happens is that it's absorbed in the tubular part of the nephron due to osmosis and active pumps and facilitated carriers. So this is just a reminder that we are talking about the fluid that has been filtrated here, and then about the absorption process in the tubular part of the nephron and in collecting that. So about the absorption. So how fluid get absorbed? So here you see a principle of osmosis. And just for reminder, I'm sure you already know that. But here we have a jar with a semi-permeable membrane. And on one side, we have low osmolarity, low concentration of a solute, while on the other one, high. The semi-permeable membrane is not permeable for the solutes, but it's permeable for water. So what's going to happen by is osmosis, which means that the water from this compartment, from the left one, is going to move into the right compartment, and it will continue moving until the concentrations in both compartments are same. That means that there will be now less water in the area where we have we originally had the lower concentration, lower osmolarity environment. And this is a principle that is used in the kidney wherever the wall of the tubule is permeable for water. The other processes that are ongoing during absorption in the tubules is active pumping. And here is an example of sodium-potassium pump where the electrolytes are moved from lower to higher concentration of from the environment with lower to higher concentration, so meaning against the concentration gradient. And that is possible only with delivery of energy in the form of ATP. And the third process that is typically happening, may or may not need directly the energy, is facilitated transportation, which, for example, is the case of sodium glucose transporters, which are facing the lumen of the tubule and are able to bind both sodium and glucose. Now, if we look at sodium, on the opposite part of the cell is functioning the sodium-potassium pump, the one that needs ATP. And sodium is moved out of the cell, and therefore there will be lesser concentration of sodium inside the cell, which is going to facilitate the movement of this transporter. And with this comes to the cell also glucose that is going then move to the blood through another glucose transporter, because it's going to facilitate through the higher concentration of glucose here to here. So these processes are and similar are happening on the tubular system of nephron. But pay attention to the permeability for water. Here you see that in the convoluted tubule and proximal convoluted tubule and the descending part of Henle loop, the permeability for water is high. On the other hand, in the ascending part of Henle loop, there is no permeability. And then the orange means that there is a partial permeability for water. So if we look now at the proximal tubule, the proximal tubule has on the lumen side several cotransporters, such as sodium glucose cotransporter, sodium hydrogen, on the other side, pumps. So basically, electrolytes from the lumens lumen are transported into interstitium. That means that there will be lower osmolarity, and here will be higher osmolarity. And because the wall is fully permeable for water, water is going to follow and equalize the osmolarities, but at the cost that the water is resorbed, which is the beneficial effect here. So it very much reminds the situation in this compartment where there was lower osmolarity, and here higher due to the effect of these pumps and transporters. So now if we are moving, if we look still, at the proximal tubule, we see that glomerulus and proximal convoluted tubule are in cortex, and cortex has osmolarity, the interstitium about 300 millimosmolar, similar to plasma. Now, as we are moving towards the Henle loop to the descending part, the tubule is now diving into a tissue interstitium that has increasing osmolarity of the interstitial fluid. So basically, as the 300 milliosmolar fluid in the tubule is passing to Henle loop, around here in the interstitium is 400 milliosmolar. And because the wall is permeable for water, water moves until these 400 and 400 milliosmolars equalize. But the fluid continues moving, and it's now moving to higher osmolarity, 5 or 600 milliosmolar. So the water continues to be drawn into the interstitium, and inside the fluid becomes more and more osmolar, and at the tip of Henle loop is the highest osmolarity that corresponds to highest osmolarity of the medulla of the area to which the tip reaches. So due to the fact that this part of the tubule is highly permeable for water, a lot of water gets absorbed in the descending part of the Henle loop. Now we are moving to ascending part of the Henle loop, and that part is impermeable for water. So you don't see any movement of water in this area. Instead, what we have there are big pumps, like sodium potassium to chloride pumps, the sodium potassium pump here. So they require ATP, and they remove a lot of solutes gradually into the interstitium. In turn, this process is actually creating this gradient in osmolarity of the interstitium, which was used short while ago for drawing water in the descending Henle loop. So due to the effect of those active pumps, and the lack of permeability for water, the tubular fluid becomes isoosmolar and then hypoosmolar compared to plasma. So you see that this is the lowest osmolarity as we are entering the distal convoluted tubule. So a lot of water was resorbed, a lot of electrolytes were kept. So now we are in the distal convoluted tubule, and there we have some important hormones that are affecting the tubular content. One is aldosterone. Aldosterone is hormone, mineralocorticoid from adrenal gland that is resorbing sodium and losing potassium. Then we have another hormone, which is parathyroid hormone that is resorbing calcium. And then the third hormone that is having a partial receptor at the distal convoluted tubule, but mainly in the collecting duct, is antidiuretic hormone. An antidiuretic hormone is a product of pituitary gland that is released when the plasma osmolarity is high. And what happens is that in the wall of collecting duct, open aquaporin channel and free water can move from the collecting duct into the interstitium. Now, I would like to point out to you this fact that the collecting duct and Henle loop are running in parallel. And so the collecting duct is also going through the area of increasing osmolarity. And so when aquaporin channels open under the influence of antidiuretic hormone, water easily is drawn into the hyperosmolar environment. So I will finish here with the absorption. And so we discussed today filtration and absorption, and next time we will discuss secretion in the nephron.